Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is for the week of November 3rd, 2022. The current character challenge is Godfall Superman. That is a 1-week repeat, and the required characters for that are Lex Luthor, Batman, and Doomsday, who you can get at bronze, gold, and silver, respectively. So, if you've got a little bit of a nest egg, or if you've got enough characters already, there's a good chance at least everybody's available in the store, but it's not the easiest. New player definitely doesn't stand any shot at getting this challenge requirements in time to actually beat the challenge. And his passive is the Power of Candor, which is on a successful block, Superman reflects all basic damage. He's got 1,000 attack, 1,250 health. Was last available on the 6th of January, 2022.
This year.
Yeah.
So he's got decent middling stats. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing historically about him was that when he was released, he was among the highest stat cards. Mm-hmm. And the way we knew that, I don't know if it was base stats that you had together and figure out what it is, but along with the original not so good Darkseid and Shazam, if you combined them as a team, the hidden sort of threat level was so high that it would draw the most defensive fights. Because as the fight ladder progressed, there weren't any higher stat teams that you could create that could be matched against a high-ish level multiplayer team. Mm-hmm. And so even though they had zero synergy, like there was no advantage to playing them together except for that they're just big stat guys. Mm-hmm. And
big beefy fellas.
Right, big beefy fellas. The win percentage would be ridiculously low, like 10%. Yeah. But I remember one season we got more than 100 wins because out of those 10% with 10% wins,
you still got way more fights than you could with anything else.
More than 1,000 fights.
And that's impressive considering that we were far from the only people doing it.
Right.
So our team drew 1,000 fights, but that means that, spread across all the teams, everybody who put it up, there was at least dozens of people using that strategy.
Yeah. And so you could potentially stay in the top 1% with little or no fighting. You just have to fight enough so you can keep track of what your wins were like right at the beginning of the season. Yeah. And then you can see your points creep up and your wins creep up as the season progressed. Mm-hmm. All right. So about him, one thing that we often forget about cards is, and it's not a minor thing, he is cheap to promote. When you look at the newer characters that are almost like 500,000 credits per copy, he's only 274,000. Mm-hmm. His passive is interesting. There's a secret part to it, and it's not really that it's secret, it's the implication. So he reflects basic damage. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? So it's like Master's Death card. It generates power. Yeah. Master's Death card, it has that unblocked damage that goes at the beginning. It doesn't tell you it generates power. Yeah. In multiplayer, it does like crazy.
Yeah, so in single player, it would actually be bad. In single player, they'd be generating power from hitting you and generating power from getting hit.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this case, each bit of damage to the opponent from a blocked hit counts like a regular hit would for generating power.
Yeah.
So, in fact, compared to a character who's supposed to generate power from blocking, like Regine Wonder Woman, he actually generates power faster. Even though her passive is only generating power, and his is only reflecting basic damage. So he's got an additional, like his passive is just that much better because it does both, and he doesn't have to take the damage.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned, so offline play, it's awful. Online, it is great. Mm-hmm. The problem with Superman, I feel like, is he's got pretty good passive. I'm still having trouble. I'm still struggling to find a place for him on any teams.
Yeah.
Because there's better options, and he doesn't really have anything that makes either his special or his basic attack stand out.
I mean, the reflecting it is cool, and it's funny. And especially when you realize you're getting so much power, it can be kind of satisfying inherently.
Yeah.
But the problem is that that's really slow, right? If you actually want to make the best use of it, you could win fights as long as somebody's not reflecting specials or avoiding damage.
Right.
Just by sitting there blocking and then, releasing the block key to hit them with a special. Right. And you could win most fights pretty much guaranteed with that, right? But the problem is, it's not fun. Right. It takes a really long time, and I think you do it once, and then the novelty kind of wears off, and then all of a sudden, the way that we play, blocking isn't a huge part of our strategy. Blocking is something you do at key moments here and there, very occasionally. Right. And with him, if you want to make the most of his passive, blocking is the thing that you're doing like all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the 128th week of a repeating pattern that started in May of 2020. That's 2 complete runs of a 43-week cycle. We are 42 weeks in the 3rd cycle, so we're almost at the end of it.
Right.
And if the pattern holds next week, I said next week, will be Hawk Girl Regime. And I said next week because I'm looking forward 2 weeks, and it's Luchador Bane after that. So I was reading Luchador Bane,
right.
Which we've sort of highlighted to make
start.
it easier to know where the start of it.
Right.
And it drew my eye so much that I said next week, because next week we have, and I would have said Luchador Bane, but that's not even right. It's not. It's like, I'll say it one more time just in case people have heard Luchador Bane like 5 times and forgotten.
It's Hawk Girl Regime.
It's Hawk Girl Regime next week.
Yeah.
So there we go. And 23 characters remain missing from that cycle.
Right. So this week's multiplayer reward is Metahuman the Flash. His passive is super speed. Upon special attack or super move activation, basic attacks temporarily triple in speed with a chance to be unblockable and do critical damage.
And he's got 1,200 of both attack and health. He was last available on the 31st of March 2022. We are 96 weeks in a row of a pattern for this. So that's 3 complete cycles of a 31 reward sequence, and we're 3 weeks into our sort of 4th cycle without any interruption. And so unlike the challenge, nothing is missing from multiplayer rewards. You get access to everything that's ever been a multiplayer reward. And next week should be reverse Flash.
Right.
So, it's Flash week. It's, didn't they used to have like Sweeps week in TV?
Yes.
Or be something, it's like Flash's weeks.
Right. And
it was
artificial because that's when the companies that measured the audience would decide that they were going to sample more.
Yeah.
And so advertising companies would spend their money based on those numbers.
Yeah.
So, the networks are trying to game the system a bit and push sort of funny events or weird events to generate a bigger audience for those moments.
So there we go. That's your fun fact about Sweeps Week. I was just kind of vaguely aware of it being a thing.
Yeah. So until Blackest Night Flash was released, I think Metahuman was the highest stat Flash.
Yeah.
And so they're decent high-end stats. And despite the description saying that he triples in speed, he doesn't actually. But for each regular basic attack, he will hit you 3 times.
Which is actually better, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Because when you swipe once, instead of getting 2 hits like all the Flashes do, you're getting 6.
Yeah.
And so when it's unblockable, I mean, so the passive lasts longer, it's activated and lasts longer the more power you use. So super speed lasts longest after a super. And that lasts longer than a special 2, and the special 2 lasts longer than a special 1. And so he can be fun to play in different ways. The obvious approach that I think a lot of people try when they first start off with him is you give him power generation gear, and you give a more unblockable chance because he generates power a lot faster with all the extra hits. And then you can sometimes generate enough power before his passive runs out so that you can do another special and trigger his passive again.
Yeah, and with the unblockable chance, you get 3 times as many chances for it to trigger.
Right.
So if they're blocking, instead of hitting them once and then them swinging back and hitting you, you hit them up to 3 times.
Right.
And then they can't sort of swing back on you at any point in those first 3 hits. And it only needs to trigger once, and then all of a sudden you get the rest of your combo.
Right. So that's why it's interesting that they gave him this
pass. Not 3 hits, 6 hits.
Right. Yeah, because he does the double.
Yeah.
So Hypersleep plated suit is kind of super great because it's power generation and unblockable chance that's specific to Flash, like 25%. And I feel like that the real problem with using Metahuman Flash, and if I've got footage, it's going to be here, that the current meta favors specials. And his passive really makes him shine as a basic damage dealer who happens to get super powered when he does specials. So one way we used to play him was in our Justice League team. Instead of Flashpoint Batman for basic damage, we put in Metahuman for basic damage. He gets power from New-52 Wonder Woman to trigger his passive. And then you could gear him with basic damage gears to make him even better. So you don't have to waste slots giving power generation. The difference in what you're watching now is, so we keep New-52 Wonder Woman to charge him up, but gear him basically to do unblockable basics, and then add Enchantress gear on him so that when he does a special to power up his passive, he has a chance to do a basic combo without worrying about being hit by special, because the Enchantress Skulls basically disables the opponent's specials.
For a couple seconds while they're getting wailed on.
Right. So it's a lot of fun, and instead of trying to max out his damage, by using Hawkgirl, we're just using him to kill time if New-52 Wonder Woman has to tag it for whatever reason if her special didn't knock out the opponent.
Yeah.
And it works really well. The main disadvantage in Metahuman over Flashpoint Batman is that in games where we tag Batman in first before Wonder Woman, Batman is already a way better basic damage guy than Metahuman the Flash, so he doesn't need any kind of charge up. Whereas Metahuman Flash, you got to do a little bit of work to make him, to power him up.
Yeah, if you're not already swapping in with power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to the store, we have the Gotham City, which is the picture text on the pack, but it's actually called technically the Gotham Gold Pack, I think.
Right.
So that's $24.99 Canadian. All these prices are in Canadian because that's where we're from, and that's what we can check. And it's been around. We've seen it a couple times in 2021. We saw it once in 2022, and then all the way back in sort of 2020, it was $26.99. So this is one of the few ones that has gone down in price.
Curse that exchange rate.
Yeah.
Or no, that's good. Curse it's good exchange rate for us, but curse it when it was bad, when it was high.
Yeah. And so the characters that comes with are Bane, who's a gold card, Deathstroke, which is a silver card, and then the Insurgency, the Joker, which is a gold card. And this is like a really bad pack, right? Because they're all available in the store for credits.
Right.
The only advantage that this pack offers is if you want a character specifically and you buy it here, you can get it, elite it up later with just credits without needing to sort of buy another pack. But in general, there's nothing rare here.
Yeah. There's nothing to recommend this pack.
Yeah.
Save your money for packs where you actually get stuff that you just can't get with power credits.
If you like the game enough that you're willing to spend $25 on it, you should like it enough that you're willing to play to get the characters. And if you don't have time, these aren't characters that you really need to set your sights on. These aren't the people that you'd be buying because they're so special and great.
Right.
We also have the Eternal Enemies Batman v Joker pack for 250,000 credits. And the text says it's guaranteed to contain 1 gold Batman or Joker character card plus 2 support cards. And then new Batman Ninja Batman and Batman Ninja Lord Joker added. So you get like a 2.5% chance.
So, all right, so this is interesting. All right, so they list when you hit the eye, it gives you those percentage chances.
Yeah.
We did an or pack opening, and we can link that. It was a while ago when the pack first came out, but the description was the same.
Yeah.
And so it tells you 2.5% each of the Batman and Batman Ninja Lord Joker.
Mm-hmm.
There's 9% chance of Red Sun Batman, 9% chance of Suicide Squad Joker on a hinge, who nobody should want. 11% Arkham Origins Batman, 11% Arkham Origins Joker, and 55% golds. So the breakdown is that the other gold characters are Batman, Batman Beyond, Insurgency Batman, Insurgency Joker, and Killing Joke Joker.
Yeah.
We've got the percentages there, but the interesting thing is that the percentage of that we saw in our pack opening was higher than 55%. Yeah. And the two sort of primo characters, the Batman Ninja characters, we also got a higher percent, but then the others in between were much lower, the other ones that were described. And I guess you could take a look at that video and see that for yourself.
Yeah, and so I guess the question is whether, at least we know everybody who's in it over the pack.
Right.
I somehow doubt that because this is like a legal requirement that they're complying with by having the percentages, that they're just lying about it.
Yeah. We might have just been, the randomness of our sampling.
Yeah, our sample just wasn't big enough to sort of get exact percentages. Right. But it's interesting because a lot of times when we open that many packs, our percentages are a lot closer. They're sort of within a couple percentage points.
Correct.
And when it's a low percent, we tend to find those actually sit a lot closer to it.
Right.
But, I guess that just shows you stats and why you need more than just, what was it, 100 packs that we did?
I think so.
Yeah. In terms of stuff we've had for a long time that's still hanging around, the Survivor Pack is in its 43rd week. The Character Bundle Batman Universe is in its 48th week. Most Wanted Pack is in its 55th week. All the Celebration Packs, those 300 nth metal packs of Joker, Aquaman, and Shazam have been around for 40 weeks. And Aquaman has been hanging out for an extra 2 weeks. He would partied by himself for 2 weeks.
Right.
In our Survivor, we have the Suicide Squad gear set until the 16th of November, 2022.
Right. Phantom Zone has one more week left. Fight 62 is still broken. Last weekend's breakthrough for golds was, as expected, Lex Luthor, Batman, and Doomsday. And this coming weekend is probably Bane, Killer Frost, and Ares, based on the cycle that has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Link in the description to a Reddit thread from Devlin16 that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle.
Yeah, so there we go. And because this is the first week of the month, we missed last week, but we're back.
Last month.
or last month, sorry, yeah. We're back with our sort of more in-depth, full detail breakdown of all the current glitches, what is and isn't working, our full sort of state of the game in terms of glitches. So, I think, importantly, this is kind of a short form. We have a playlist that we're linking in the top right corner, or that you can access on the playlist channel on our page. But, go ahead and click that I if you want to know how to do any of these glitches specifically.
Right, because they're all tutorials.
Yeah. And here what we're going to talk about is sort of extra tips and tricks, things to keep in mind, and specifically anything new or important that we think is worth talking about now, in addition to what is and isn't working.
But before we get to that, we'd like to talk about what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so there is no glitch for power credits that we're willing to endorse. We talk about this in more detail in a previous season, season 6, episode 9 of our P and Q and C and A and T, which is transformed back into just a Q&A. Mm-hmm. It's probably worth repeating the main point, which is that there has been a glitch. It might still be working. People might still be using it, where you need to be logged into one account simultaneously with 2 devices. The reason why we recommend against using it because of the risk of having your account suspended because of that.
And we had an account suspended way back when for having it logged in on 2 devices at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah, so we know that it's a thing that can definitely happen because it happened to us.
Right.
And clearly...
we were precise enough about doing stuff that we know that there wasn't any other variable involved.
Yeah, because we made that mistake exactly one time.
Right.
Yeah. In terms of other things that you can't do, there's no glitch for getting repeated past multiplayer season rewards. There's no glitch for getting early multiplayer season rewards in a way that you want to exploit. We've talked about how some people get it by accident and get worse rewards than they want. There's no glitch to get through Phantom Zone quickly, like supernaturally quickly.
Right.
But
we've done it once in less than 7 minutes, I think.
Okay, very impressive. And there is no way to get free energy by clicking that video button without actually watching the video. You used to be able to sort of just jump past it, but you can still time shift and change the date and time to get energy, which we'll talk about a little later.
Working glitches. Okay. Glitch to let you play Phantom Zone repeatedly, still working. Glitch to let you do the challenge reset, still working, confirmed on the current Godfall Superman. And for people who don't understand what that means is that, so there's a limited number of plays. You get the rewards. They are pretty special on both of them, the Phantom Zone and the challenge. So what you want to do is get the chance to play it again, but you still keep your previous rewards from getting through it. These are techniques for doing that. Mm-hmm. The point to remember is that they're really basically the same glitch. So if you're doing one or the other, just keep in mind, you need to keep track of the progress, because there's nothing that quite compares to the frustration of doing a bunch of progress on your Phantom Zone, getting some crystals, and then resetting it before you actually get the final reward.
Yeah.
And same goes for the challenge reset, but the challenge reset is a little faster than the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. If you're on Android 10 and having trouble because you need to re-download more than 1 gig of data when you clear your app data as part of this reset, there is a possible solution. We can't test this, but we have the information in the description from one of our commenters, Tanmay Kakde, who gave us the instructions on how it works for
them. Which files to move around.
Yeah.
And which folders.
Yeah, that's in the description.
Yeah. Breakthrough glitch, so you can play it repeatedly, still working. Airplane mode / refund glitch is still working. Good for packs with random drops and last laugh tickets. It does not work for us on Android in the Phantom Zone because it requires an online connection, even though when we tried it, it looked like it was working, but when we checked our resources, it was not.
Mm-hmm. And we really strongly recommend against doing a variation of this where you switch between accounts instead of clearing app data.
Right.
And it's sort of similar thing to being in the same account on 2 devices at once. There's too big a risk of something going wrong. In this case, it's account bleeding.
Right.
Which is sort of the information from one account jumping over to the other one in an unpredictable way that can sometimes...
screw you badly.
Yeah, do some really bad stuff to one of your accounts, especially when they're not sort of both in the same spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Time shifting still works in Android for unlimited survivor play and energy recharges. Bring your clock back. One of the problems is that your events may not show up at the right time if it gets out of sync at one point, and sometimes when you bring it back in sync, it doesn't correct itself.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least, in between the not working and working glitches, there's the promotion glitch, where you can promote characters that are still locked. It hasn't had the right conditions since update 2.14, so it's not testable and it's not usable but it has never technically failed us. So we're keeping it in here on that technicality because nobody can stop us.
Yeah. And that was a long one.
Yeah.
But that's it. So a big thank you to our patrons on Patreon. That's BomboBen, Consul Peasant, and Edwoon at the top tier last word. Sinemac and Mohammed Albshaiti at the Your Message Here tier. Shawn Farrell, Daniel Simonson, Aaron Maule, Michael DeVries, Brandon C., Irvin Ruiz, Eddydoo, and Hoshi127 at the credited level. And Chris Wolff, Scarlet, Dani, Awesomegamer 2for1, Pavu RS, Gavin, Mallott, and Isfar E at the gratitude level.
Yeah, thank you so much for your support, and thanks so much all of you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.